Alright, in this video we'll take a look at the village at war. As you can see at this point, the village has been, or is about to be attacked by a group of warriors, probably from a neighboring tribe. These are probably people that are upset with us. Maybe we took one of their boundaries, or maybe they don't like the fact that our women are prettier, or it could be a variety of different reasons. Maybe there's some kind of deep-seated conflict between two of us, but ultimately it leads to open warfare. And during the Iron Age, many Celtic tribes declared war on each other and formed confederations, and oftentimes would engage in conflict. And so it was something that tended to happen and was fairly regular. And so basically these guys are about to attack the village. At this point, it's about trying to defend with what we've got. And so we'll basically take a look at our side. Our villagers are going to be made up primarily of basically militias. These are guys who have been called out to try to defend their village as best as possible. They're usually not professional soldiers. There might be some called solduri that are, but for the most part, most people are looking at it as a responsibility to protect the village itself. And so you can see them obviously standing on the ramparts, ready to fight. Some have obviously inside the guard towers, but basically in general they're ready for anything that these guys are going to throw at us. This is a pretty good sized group, and so more than likely they would try to carry off our food, possibly our women. Just depends. Every raid was different, and all of them really took place for different reasons, so there's no like one cause. But basically in this instance, the people of our village are going to have to defend themselves, and soon they're going to find themselves at war. So let's go ahead and take a look at the battle and how it plays out. So obviously the first guys have attacked the wall. At this point we're going to send some guys out to engage in combat, obviously with swords, shields, and other weapons. We've got another group over here which is going to come in from the side and hopefully flank them, right? And so hopefully we're going to use our force and our numbers, right, to maximum possible effect, at least as well as we can within the limitations of the game, right? And so we'll basically see how our plan works out. Alright, so our village was a success, right? And it appears that we have a couple of guys, I think one guy that was able to run away, and so he will not be coming back anytime soon. But ultimately, it was a success. Our guys were successful, they won, and they have preserved themselves. And so now they claim the spoils of war, right? They get to go out and take all the stuff from the opposing side that got killed. So obviously you can see among our guys, most of them are armored in leather. Some have got mail armor made of iron, which is starting to take place during this period, right in the Iron Age. So kind of a mix of both. Iron mail tended, or chainmail as it was known, tended to provide a much better defense than leather did. And so obviously it's a series of interlocking rings, kind of like a chain link fence on your body, that would provide really good protection and flexibility. The downside, of course, it's a little bit heavy. Mail would tend to be about 10 to 15 pounds, so you can imagine carrying that extra weight. Leather obviously was a little bit more durable in that it worked well in, like, for example, rainy climates. The problem, of course, with mail is that it can rust. But the good thing about mail is if you wear it a lot, it tends to kind of buffer itself. The more those rings rub against each other, they tend to rub the rust off. So as long as you're using it all the time and you preserve it with something like, for example, pig fat, rust probably won't be as big an issue. So yeah, probably mail was the superior defensive garment during this era, and it probably originated in Celtic Europe and then spread to the Romans and others. So yeah, basically our village was successful. You can see the enemy was not able to gain access, and so our walls and defenses held firm. And so this was just the part of life in this era. Warfare was something that happened. Typically, you had to defend your harvest, you had to defend your people, and it was something that all citizens had to do without question. And so this was part of the era and was part of the lifestyle of living in Celtic Europe. So this basically completes our multiple part series on our Celtic village. I hope you enjoyed it, and for the most part, hopefully you learned something significant about not only prehistoric but also early early societies as well. This is the cairn, which is a Celtic style burial chamber. These were basically designed not only to hold loved ones who had departed, but typically noble families would have these as well that were reserved for people who had died. And they had a unique place, particularly in Celtic culture, because this is basically where people would celebrate, those that had died in service of not only their state, but also their relatives who had long gone as well. Typically, these were part of structures with other megaliths, basically funerary complexes on the edges of towns. And so typically, cairns were located in spiritual grounds, which were very important for worshiping the gods and spirits of that time. And so they formed an important part of the structure and were probably some of the largest, most imposing structures in a town. And so there are obviously religious implications, certainly political implications as well, to having these. But basically it ensured that noble families, and especially royal families, would be well taken care of in the afterlife. And so you can see the statuary, you can see all the decoration that comes with building these kind of earthen stone tombs. And then of course the temples and megaliths that would surround them as well. This completes our Dawn of Man series by Madruga Works. A big thanks to all of y'all for sticking around to the end. This is something we like to do occasionally here at Hands on History. Look at the ancient past and then try to explore it through the lens of the modern present. Not a lot of really cool Neolithic and Paleolithic games out there, so it's kind of an interesting way to be able to look at it, especially in a strategy context. Would have loved to have seen more government. It would have been awesome to see like tribal councils or political upgrades of some kind that would, kind of bring that aspect to life. But it was cool to go on hunts. Obviously, the combat system was interesting. There was a lot of role-playing elements as far as upgrading your technologies and such, which is really cool. So definitely an interesting game. Certainly worth taking a look at, And a big thank you to all of y'all for sticking around and watching the videos. Big thanks to my wife, the Canine Security Squad as well, and some of my mentor professors for their assistance in trying to bring the Neolithic and Paleolithic past to light. Big thanks to all of you, and hopefully you'll subscribe for future videos on this channel. And remember, this is Hands on History, where we don't just learn from history, we live it.